So, you are geared up for a chart battle with Girls Aloud when you both release classic cover versions on the same day. Is it going to be a Blur versus Oasis Titanic chart battle?
Well, we are releasing a single at the same time as Girls Aloud, but we don't really care. I think it's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're not releasing singles to go up against anybody. We're just releasing our song, and the date we're releasing our song, you know, if it goes to number one, that'll be a very, very happy moment for us. I think, you know, for any band, it would be very brilliant for any act to go to number one, and you know, we don't really bother with chart battles. We're not.
How many singles have we released by now?
This is our 15th or 16th single.
We've released 16 singles or so, and every time we've released a single, we've been against somebody. So, you know, it's kind of, you know, there's nothing different about this. It just happens that the Girls Aloud are managed by the same person, and people are making a deal out of it. But
yeah.
I mean, we really kind of, in the best intention way possible, we actually don't really care, if you know what I mean.
Fine. Now, you're releasing When a Woman Loves a Man, came out this week, as digital download before it hits the shops on the album. Are you all in favour of music on the internet?
I'm in favour of music on the internet as long as it's controlled right. I think it can be very damaging for the music industry and for bands that, you know, if it gets to a stage where no acts are selling albums or selling music anymore because everybody's downloading it for free off the internet, that can be quite dangerous for us, because this is a business at the end of it all, and record companies realistically are there to make money. And you know, it might not necessarily be like that for the artist, but you know, record companies won't put money into the artist unless they're making the money back, and the only way they can do that is by album sales. So for us, it's important that, you know, that we sell albums in order for our record company to keep us going and to keep us, you know, making good videos and making good albums for the fans to buy. And you know, we're not going to be able to do that if people just keep downloading our music off the internet and for free, because you know, it's a business and the record company want to make money. It's as simple as that.
A British newspaper recently made a brave stand suggesting that British pop is entering a golden phase, citing the success of credible pop acts like Sugar Babes and Holly Valance as evidence of the vitality of current pop music. Is this just hype, or do you think pop is in a creative phase at the moment?
I think that it's not really any different than it always was. I mean, there's lots of different types of pop music, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's kind of credible pop music, there's corny pop music, there's, you know, everything in between.
Holly Valance is credible since when?
To be honest with you, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for instance, I mean, people call the Sugar Babes credible now, and you know, I mean, they're definitely good, and they're definitely a certain type of pop music. But you know, before the Sugar Babes there was the All Saints, and before that there was, you know, I mean, there's always kind of, you know, a credible pop act, and there's always the kind of corny one, the cheesy one, and there's as I say, everything else that goes in between. So I don't think it's really any different at the minute than it ever has been, and it probably will always be the same. There's always going to be, you know, different areas within pop music that different bands will, you know, sit into and become successful in. And I don't know.
Who really cares about credibility anyways? I mean, what's credible? That journalists write good comments about your music? It's like, well, so what? You know, I mean, the only people that we care who like our music is our fans, so it doesn't bother us what critics say.
The TV created pop soft phenomenon is looking a bit shaky at the moment. How do you rate the chances of the existing crop and future pop idols?
I think Pop Idol is a good show for people who don't really get an opportunity to get themselves, you know, into the kind of light, and you know, for people that are in the music industry to get a chance to see them if they're really talented. But at the same time, I think it's way overkill now, and it's time for it to go away. And you know, because at this stage there's so many artists in the industry that, you know, pop artists especially, like so many boy bands, so many girl bands, that it's just people are just going to get their hearts broken because an act will get signed and they'll get dropped a week later, and it's, you know, it's not a good thing to happen.
I think you know that. I think a big part of the reality TV shows is the sheer brutal honesty of the judges. But unfortunately, I think that sometimes the opinion is altered by the want of controversial TV footage. And let's say, for instance, Simon had 10 contestants in front of him in a row that he actually liked. I don't believe for a second that he'd actually say every one of them were amazing. I think that he'd have to feel that he needs to be a bit nasty to some of them, you know, just to kind of
for the TV?
Yeah, for the TV, so that the audience at home still get their little bit of, you know, seeing poor innocent young people getting stabbed in the chest or whatever. So I think that the opinions given on the show aren't always exactly 100% true to the real opinion of the judge, like Simon or whoever, because they need to be controversial and they need to be mean to people for the TV show to do well. So, the opinions aren't really 100% concrete to me. So that kind of makes it a bit unfortunate for the individual that happens to be there at the time.
Would you, if you hadn't had the opportunities to be in Westlife when you did, do you think and you were at that age now again, do you think you'd go for?
I think, to be honest with you, if we weren't in Westlife, I would say probably yes, because again, it's an opportunity to get yourself out there, and we were so hungry for being in a pop act like Westlife, and to be in the pop scene. I think we definitely would have gone to the extent of going for that. But we were always a band before we started. We've always been a unit of a group of people. So that whole pop album it's individual, but I don't know. It's a strange one to think. But luckily enough, we haven't had to do it. So
I probably would have knocked Simon Cowell out if I went on it.
Yeah.
Are you into the darkness?
Yes.
The darkness are very. We were speaking about this earlier on because we seen them last night in the MTV Awards. I think they're very good, and I think it's quite sad because a lot of people are not really giving them the chance they deserve. We were saying earlier that a lot of people are like, "Oh, the darkness, so
it's
what?
been done
Freddie
before.
Mercury's done it years ago," and you know what I mean. They're doing nothing new, but at the end of the day, first of all, the lead singer guy is an amazing vocalist.
Yeah.
He's an amazing guitar player.
player.
Their songs are amazing and they're unbelievable live. So I think that's really what matters. It's not like, is somebody not allowed to be influenced by somebody anymore? If you know what I mean, that's what we were saying. It's like if he's influenced in a heavy way by Freddie Mercury, then it's better than being influenced by Bananarama or something. Do you know what I mean? So fair play to him.
I think they're a brilliant band and their music is very, very good.
Absolutely.
Now, Black Eyed Peas kept you off top of the chart with your last single. Have you got any theories on what made their song so massive for so many weeks at number one?
Black Eyed Peas was just a brilliant song. It was as simple as that. I think it was one of them songs when people heard it on the radio, they really liked it.
Still gets played every day.
Exactly. It's a brilliant song. It's a big hit. It's a worldwide hit. They didn't need to come over and do loads of TV shows and do all that type of stuff. It was a genuine number one song. Just like big songs like I Will Always Love You, like Whitney Houston and Bryan Adams, stuff like that. People that stay at the top for a long time, they're there because they deserve to go to the top for a long time.
When a song stays at the top of the charts for 6 or 7, how many weeks did it stay?
7 weeks.
7 weeks or whatever. There's no denying.
Question.
You just have to hands up admit, fair play to them. That is an amazing pop song, and it will always be remembered. And there's no kind of flukiness, or the marketing can only go a certain way, or putting money into something to promote it can only go a certain way. But a song staying at number one for 7 weeks speaks for itself. There's no question about it. It's an amazing pop song, pop, hip hop, R&B song.
Now, you're going to be. Well, I'm not sure if this is true, but you're going to be on Des and Mel alongside young junior Eurovision hopeful Tom Morley. Do you have any words of advice for him?
We've already been on Des and Mel with the Eurovision kid, and we just said hello. He asked for a few autographs, and that was it really. We were backstage, had a photograph taken, and that was it. And he was quite happy to meet us, and best of luck to him. We hope he does very well.
Now, you made the Irish Rich List inside the top 20, just behind Roy Keane, ahead of Colin Farrell. I don't know if that's collectively or individually. What do you spend all that money on?
Well, we wouldn't be in the rich list if we spent all the money. That's why it's all in our banks. I don't know. It's funny. First of all, those lists are
so wrong.
They're designed mainly to for the public to sit down and kind of. I don't know. Years ago when I read a rich list, before I was in the band, it just kind of made me think, wow, they've got so much money, and it kind of plays on the whole fantasy of being rich and famous. And the majority of the time, they're actually pretty inaccurate. And if we're in them, well and good, but it doesn't really mean anything to us. It doesn't change our lives. It doesn't make us feel any better that we're in a rich list. It actually kind of embarrasses it to a certain extent because. Especially in Ireland, it's sort of...
The thing about it is, though, as well, there's so many people that are into say, something like a Rich List, they only put the celebrities in. They don't put the big businessmen in. They don't put anything like that in. I mean, realistically, we're probably in the top 500, not the top 20. You know, like, I mean, the people who own Ryanair, for example, they're not in the Rich List. You know, people who own big companies around the world, they're not in the Rich List because nobody knows who they are, so the public don't want to read about them. You know, but you put Westlife, Roy Keane and Colin Farrell in because they're Irish. It's the Irish Rich List, and they're the 3 biggest Irish exports in like music or the fame industry. So
it's just like another tabloid story. You know what I mean? It's in the paper one day, it's gone the next, and it doesn't really make a difference.
It's all a load of rubbish.
Now, I'm not really sure what this is referring to either, but the question is, what's the inside scoop on Barry Manilow's recent nose incident?
Have nothing to do.
I don't know. We have no idea. I seen something in the paper that he came out of some place with some bandage on his nose, but I have no clue. We don't know Barry Manilow. We met him one time about 3 years ago, and I mean, we haven't even though we're doing one of his songs, we haven't even spoken about him or to him, obviously, since 3 years ago, and we just don't know a thing about his nose, to be honest with you. He knows nothing about it.
Now, you lost in the final of Soccer 6 So Solid. Can you think of a suitable challenge in which you'd like to take them on again?
I reckon if we were to play So Solid Crew in the Soccer 6 final next year, we'd probably beat them. We were very tired and very unfit, and that's the reason why they probably won. But we absolutely destroyed them in the basketball. Like, we did the basketball thing, which is a charity thing, the Duncan Funk it's called, and we won it. And I mean, we absolutely destroyed them. Absolutely destroyed them. They didn't even get a basket, I don't think. So.
And finally, for Dotmusic, what does the next year hold for us?
Next year, well, we have this new album coming out, which is obviously, it's in the end of 2003, but that's just going to flow right into 2004. We're going to be promoting, you know, possibly a 3rd single at the start, or when?
Probably February.
Yeah, in February or so, and then straight away after that we're going into tour rehearsals and then onto a tour, which is going to take up about 4 or 5 months of the year. So that's kind of the near future. What we're going to be doing is just touring, promoting, and basically doing the same thing we've done every year, Pinky.
Take over the world.